are here again on our mission to cultivate peace and just return to the light that is within our being. That's what spiritual practice is. It's remembering and recognizing that which we already are. This world and our very being is this beautiful, elegant system that's in place on a very physical level. Our bodies are here with, I guess you could say, 3 mandates. The first mandate is to survive and to procreate, and then to pass on knowledge so others may develop wisdom. And that's it. It's very simple, very elegant system. But there's this kind of wrench that gets thrown into things. And it's this desire that arises to be told what to do. We all have it. It comes out of this curiosity. I don't know exactly where it comes from. Maybe it comes from immaturity. That part of us that seeks wisdom, that just says, just tell me what to do. We've all felt it. There's the reverse of it, where that I know I have a strong streak of. It says, you can't tell me what to do. I'm going to do what I want to do. Somebody tells me I have to do something, I will find a way to do the opposite just to prove to them that I don't have to do that. It's just a little twisted. But this programming has been taken advantage of by different people. Different systems have been put in place, kind of overlaid on the very basic programming, the basic system of survival, procreation, sharing knowledge. Has been this structure of power over. And it feeds off of this notion of, we buy into it because we have this notion that we want to be told what to do. It comforts us. If somebody can lay it out and say, okay, you do A, B, and C, then you'll get what you want. And then if you don't get what you want, and you did A, B, and C, now you have a target for your anger. You can be mad at them. It's their fault. It didn't work out. It's all very convenient. And people have bought into this for thousands of years. This dynamic of, I will give up my power to you, and you essentially take care of me. You tell me what to do. Sometimes it works out and people are taken care of beautifully. A lot of times it's the opposite. People are abused. People are not taken care of. There's a greed sickness that happens when people encounter power. The way out of that, it comes back to personal responsibility. It comes back to reclaiming our own personal power. Not so then we can have power over everybody and everything, because now we're just back in the same trap. We're doing the same thing. It's discovering that we can have power with, that we can, or that we already are in this interdependent reality. Our very existence is relative when we talk about our interactions with each other, on a physical level, on a psychic, energetic level. It's all relative. We only exist in relation to one another, in relation to something else. So there's this inherent interdependence that exists. When we fully grasp this interdependence, the whole concept of having power over something is ridiculous. Because we can see like this giant system that is too big for our mind to even hold, with all of these interconnecting pieces that are all moving in relation to one another in the most extraordinary ways and creating endless patterns. There's no way we could control all of that. There's absolutely no way. To even attempt to control that, we have to limit the system. We have to put down barriers and shrink into a tiny little sphere that then exists in relation to the greater whole. So we can fool ourselves and think that we have control over this. You know, we do it with our bodies a lot. We say, okay, I have control over my body. And as somebody that's lived with chronic illness for 30 years, I can tell you, you do not have control over your body. You can think you do. Wake up in the morning and say, oh yes, I'm going to do this. And then your body says, no, we're not. And the more we try to have control over, try to have power over, the world shrinks smaller and smaller. Our sphere shrinks smaller and smaller. But when we start to open up to this concept of interdependence, our awareness expands and we start to see that there is power with. So we have an agreement with our body. It's a vehicle that carries us around, allows us to interact with each other, interact with this physical world. We have power with nature itself, with this beautiful planet that supports us. Has gravity that holds us close to the planet so we don't go floating off into space. Has an atmosphere, gives us oxygen, allows us to have food, recycles everything. It's just amazing. But the more we try to have power over nature, the smaller it gets. There's this interesting thing happening where more and more people are awakening to this concept. You know, for centuries we've talked about interconnection. You know, mystics have described it in detail from both East and West. There's been art that tries to show people. But our communication has reached this beautiful level where we can actually have instantaneous communication throughout the globe. So there's this cognition of how interconnected we are. Even the thought that we can get on a plane and within hours be on the other side of the world. It's fascinating. And we're watching in real time how, as a species, we struggle with this idea of control over, and it's not working. But we're also at this beautiful time where more and more people are waking up to interconnection, not as just this vague intellectual concept, but as something real and tangible. That this is actually how it works. And so we're watching systems crumble from the inside. Much of it's subtle, some of it's not so subtle. How it will look in a year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, I have no idea. I'm very curious to see how it turns out. But what I do know is I don't have control over any of it. What I do have control over is the focus of my mind. That's where personal responsibility comes in. I have the power to decide what my attention is going to feed. I have the power to decide if I'm going to acknowledge the patterns that I've inherited through both my ancestry and through the society and through my own personal habits that have carried on my mind stream from lifetime to lifetime, the same scars. As we practice meditation and mindfulness and our awareness expands, we see these patterns, we see these habits. We start to notice where we're trying to control, where we're trying to have power over. And we see the movement, that very fine line, that razor's edge of controlling one's focus to trying to control a situation. And when we discover with practice that, I can influence different situations. If I pull up a lot of power and I put a lot of energy into it, sometimes I can make things go the way I want them to. But really, there's more at play than I can see, more at play than I can actually touch with my energy. But what I can do is control the focus of my mind, so I can catch myself when I start to spin out in frustration over the things that I can't control. I can catch myself when I start to follow destructive patterns that are harming myself or others. And I can put my mind, my focus back on beauty and back on gratitude. And that will allow me to act from that place. Allow me to act from a place of wisdom, where I see the interdependence, where I see the transitory nature of existence. That this is all in flux. This is all changing all the time. By holding my mind in a space of beauty or gratitude, it allows me to speak with compassion. instead of out of defense, instead of out of rage, instead of out of trying to control a situation. Instead, I can speak compassionately to my own self, who's perhaps suffering because it's not getting its way. Saying, no, I thought it was going to go this way. No, I really wanted this. I wanted them to do that. We can speak with compassion to ourselves, and then that allows us to speak with compassion to others. And if we keep practicing, keep putting our focus on beauty and gratitude, then our very thoughts become imbued with love. We actually start to cognize that interconnection in a very visceral way. When we see somebody, we don't see other. We see that we are connected, that we are one, that what happens to you happens to me. And this alters our thoughts about everything, which then impacts our speech. We speak with compassion because our thoughts are filled with love. We act with wisdom because we see the interconnection, we see the transitory nature. We act with love. And as we keep practicing, that part of us that craves being told what to do gets a little smarter. Instead of looking for someone to put on a pedestal who will then tell us what to do, or instead of you climbing up on a pedestal and trying to tell others what to do, we see the foolishness of that whole game. And we find that quiet wisdom within ourselves. We start to be able to actually listen to what is needed in this very moment. We return to that very basic programming of survival, of sharing knowledge. But it's not out of an individual need. We see it that we are this entire existence. We become life-seeking life. And it's not that we've changed into this, we simply remember that's what we are. We are this pure and perfect light. In order to cultivate this, we practice meditation, we practice mindfulness, we practice contemplation. And it's not something we finish one day. You know, that part of us that likes to be told what to do also really likes endpoints. We're like, okay, tell me how to get from A to B, and then I'll be happy. Tell me how to do this, and I'll do it, and then I'll be at peace. And you won't. I hate to break it to you. You can try, keep trying. Don't let me stand in your way. Keep trying until you see the truth for yourself. But the more you pay attention, the more we begin to realize that every single moment has the seeds of peace. Every single moment is perfect. Even when everything's fallen apart. That can be hard to remember, because that part of us is like, no, I need to just get through this. And our systems are, bodies are all wound up. And we're caught in this big ball of resistance, saying, no, this can't be happening. So in that moment, use that experience to practice. To speak gently with yourself and say, oh yes, this actually is happening. This is what is right now. And once you do that fully, and you entirely embrace this present moment, it unlocks our innate wisdom that knows exactly what needs to be done in that moment. And I'm sorry, it's not something I can spell out to you and say, in this situation do that, in that situation do this. We can certainly read high books and see what others have done in different situations. We can watch movies and discover how others have gone through different mind states. Gives us a frame of reference. Movies are great teachers. They allow us to experience things without us having to go through them physically. And books and movies have that wonderful quality. But they can't tell you what to do. Nobody can tell you what to do. You already know what to do. In every single moment. But you're so busy looking for somebody to tell you what to do, and then fighting against that suggestion. So we spend all of our time in this mental space, suffering the entire time. So just as a suggestion, just as a practice, if you wish to cultivate peace, practice being fully present without resistance. Notice when that resistance rises up. Sometimes it's very subtle. Sometimes it's just, the shoulders going up a little bit. Sometimes it's that inhale that we do, like, usually not that loud. Sometimes it's just taking that, we lean back, like, oh, I don't want to deal with that. But in those moments, bring your full attention to bear on that moment instead of looking for some distraction. And just ask yourself this honest question: what am I resisting? And wait for the answer. And when you see the answer, it creates a point for you to contemplate. Don't let your ego grab a hold of it and run you into the ground. Because sometimes we'll say, oh, I'm resisting because I don't like that guy. His voice bugs me. And now it's just, you filed it away. It's like it's their problem, not mine. Instead, what is it about his voice? What is actually causing me to resist? And we dig and we dig until we find that moment of release. And we'll feel it viscerally many times. So our whole body will be like, oh, And then when we see it, if it's something really big, something that has been lodged within our being for a really long time, the first reaction is usually just to like turn away. Say, oh, no, not that. Not going to deal with that. Distractions. Find some distraction. Got to go do something else so I can forget about that. But when you're ready and you're willing to look at it deeply, the thing, whatever it is, the hooks that are in you will start to retract. They'll just fade. And all of a sudden it falls apart, falls away, falls apart. And there can be this moment of confusion. This moment where you feel completely discombobulated. Because remember, we exist in relation to everything else. So if you have something that you have resisted, that you've carried around like a big suitcase in your body for decades, for lifetimes sometimes, and then suddenly you let it go, that weight isn't there anymore, and so now you're off balance. You're like, whoa, wait, now there's like this hole, this vacuum. Like, who am I without that? And that becomes a whole different type of resistance and fear. So when that happens, lean into it, explore it, really ask, okay, well, who am I without that? And just wait for the answer. Don't be in such a rush to be told what you are. Don't be in such a rush to tell others what to do. To cultivate peace, we have to trust that very quiet part of ourselves that knows what to do in any given moment. And so we practice. We practice meditation, we practice mindfulness, we practice contemplation. And there will be times where you'll find yourself doing something, and then 10 minutes later, when you're out of the situation, you'll be like, why did I do that? Why did I say that to that stranger? And in those moments, just trust. Trust yourself. Say, oh, well, maybe that person really needed a compliment, and that's why I said that in the store line. Maybe they just needed to hear that. Maybe I needed to have the experience of that interaction. We don't get to always know the why. But we'll feel it if we have a stronger negative feedback system than we do a positive feedback system. And I think this is by design. This is part of our survival mechanism. If something is dangerous for us, something is unhealthy, our whole body reacts. It knows. But if something is good for us, something is positive for our well-being, there's nothing there. It's kind of a given. It's like, well, yes, of course, this is how it's supposed to be. So pay attention more to those quiet moments If you find yourself in a situation and you follow your intuition and you do something that feels very out of character, and then those old habits come and start to haunt you and be like, why did I do that? Check in and say, well, how do I feel? Do I feel okay? Do I feel open? And if you do, then you most likely did the exact right thing that needed to be done. Trust that. So the best way that we kind of learn about this internal silence that we have is through meditation. So we'll practice some more meditation. We'll do the chakras. We'll spend a few minutes on the navel center. That's our center of personal power. So we just allow our attention to rest in that part of our being that calls up our very physical and fiery energy. And we'll rest there. Then we'll focus on the heart, which is our center of balance, our sense of humor and creativity, where we just take everything in. And we allow ourselves to rest in the center of all things. And then we'll move the attention up to the third eye. And that's our place of clarity and innovation, where we can actually see. We might not always be able to express what we see, but trust in what you're experiencing. So let's try that. If you're watching this later on YouTube, you can practice on your own for a few minutes.